That brings us here today, putting words down on a brand new sheet of paper, brand new chapter, brand new book that we like to call All Elite Wrestling. We have a saying in the elite: change the world.
That clip you just watched changed the trajectory of where professional wrestling was heading. But why? Well, WWE's programming in the mid to late 2000s isn't great, to put it lightly. Bailey, This Is Your Life segment, Oozy Hot, Roman Reigns' dog food segment, Bobby Lashley's sister segment. Yeah, one of those sisters you're looking at is Max Caster, whose rap game is so bad he makes Indy El Chapo sound like Shakespeare. Thank God for NXT, because if that's the only WWE program that's airing at that time, I would have gone brainworms like the current Secretary of Health and Human Services. Professional wrestling fans like us were fiending for an alternative that is, good. But before we discuss the alternative, let's consider how all of this began. The golden era of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, and the independent scene. New Japan in the 2000s was quite simply a dark time in the promotion's history. To give you a cliff notes, it all stems from a number of factors, including their ill-conceived push of MMA fighters and styles, resulting in poor matches and numerous injuries. The departure of top junior stars like Benoit and Guerrero left a void in the junior division that was never adequately filled. The rise of numerous new promotions like Noah and Zero One increased competitions and diluted the top talent pools of the major companies. Finally, New Japan Pro Wrestling's experimentation with US-style gimmicks, faction, and match types alienated many fans who valued the traditional Japanese style. I will say, the one positive thing about that period was seeing Great Khali wrestling like he is primetime Too Cold Scorpio. If only WWE snatched him up just a couple of years earlier. However, the 2010s were a different story. Under the mantle of the former four-time IWGP Junior Tag Team Champion Gedo, New Japan Pro Wrestling entered a golden age with long-term story arcs featuring Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, aka the Golden Lovers arc. And I want to mention that Kenny Omega's rise as the cleaner and the leader of the Bullet Club brought in some global attention to New Japan Pro Wrestling. His legendary matches with Okada, example his 7-star Dominion match in 2018, set a new benchmark for wrestling excellence. The Bullet Club became a phenomenon in wrestling, blending rebellious anti-hero personas with elite wrestling talent and attracting fans worldwide like myself who were paying attention to what New Japan was cooking as a man who only consumed the federales. Kenny Omega in particular looked so cool to me and represented the heel we all loved to cheer for. Coincidentally, Ring of Honor's level was also on the rise, and them partnering up with New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2014 was the move for ROH that boosted their presence even further, hosting crossover events like Global Wars, World of the World that showcased top talent like AJ Styles, the Briscoes, Adam Cole, Dragon. These partnerships elevated ROH's profile in the US, while New Japan Pro Wrestling gained a foothold in the American market. The Elite, Omega, Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes became pivotal figures in both promotions, creating legit greatness like being the Elite YouTube channel. So the genesis of All In, the biggest indie show at that time, started with Davey Boy Meltzer, who in 2017 quote tweeted a question if Ring of Honor could ever sell a 10,000 seat arena. Meltzer replied, "Not anytime soon." Cody Rhodes responded just 11 minutes later with, "I'll take that bet, Dave. I already gave them their biggest buy rate, put the Young Bucks and I on the card, and 3 months to promote." This exchange alone became the catalyst for Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks to organize the biggest indie show ever, All In. Them betting on themselves by creating the show was the best thing to ever happen to the industry, which ultimately sold out and changed the wrestling landscape forever. All In was a fun show that tested the waters of what an alternative to WWE actually looks like. It features an actor, a dentist, and of course, a Redditor. Here's your gold, good sir. At least it gave us a Pentagon Jr. and Kenny Omega match, so that's cool. All In was the first US independent promotion to achieve such success, and the first time in 19 years that a show outside of WWE and WCW sold as many tickets as possible in like 30 minutes after the tickets went on sale. That's insane. Almost as insane as calling Chad Gable an Olympian Shorty G. The demand was there, with over 10,000 folks in attendance, and there were some behind the scenes moves in the background. Tony Khan, a passionate wrestling fan and a businessman, had been in talks with the Young Bucks even before All In. These discussions, which initially took place in Khan's background, eventually led to bringing in The Rhodes and Kenny Omega. Several trademarks were filed in Jacksonville, Florida on November 5th, 2018. The very next month, Cody Rhodes, Young Bucks, and several other wrestlers left Ring of Honor, fueling further speculations about their future plans. And that's where AEW was born. The official announcement of AEW's creation came at midnight Eastern Time on New Year's Day 2019 in an episode of Being the Elite. This episode also announced Double or Nothing, AEW's inaugural event. This is where we're gonna talk about the rise of AEW, aka its peak. Double or Nothing was their first show, and man, it was
peak fiction, GOAT, raw, fire.
Highlights include SCU's opening match of Strongheart and a blood-soaked Rhodes family drama, which apparently both men forgot to pack in their band-aids because there was more blood than DMX's Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood album cover. The show just kept fans glued to their seats. The women's division showed promise, although it took forever to become decent. The Young Bucks retained their title in a fantastic match against the Lucha Brothers, and Chris Jericho won the main event, only to have Jon Moxley crash his victory party and ended the show with even more hype. Side note, remember Chris Jericho? I say remember because I'm on a copium pretending his current Frank Lampard Man City run isn't happening right now. I'm not gonna lie, the first few episodes of AEW Dynamite were okay. You can tell it's their first rodeo in booking some pro wrestling television, especially that brawl. However, the start of a new decade is where AEW shined brighter like a diamond. New album Rihanna. The build towards Revolution 2020 and then the show itself was probably the greatest time to be a wrestling fan. Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks had one of the greatest tag team matches of the century. MJF and Cody Rhodes, Pac and Orange Cassidy, and Jon Moxley's title victory. It was just peak. While COVID-19 had the planet on lockdown, AEW turned daily space into their pandemic-era fortress, serving up innovative match types like those cinematic matches, notably Stadium Stampede. Thanks Matt Hardy for that after his deletion match in 2016. This era of AEW also gave us Cody Rhodes' memorable Beautiful Black, Beautiful White promo.
Beautiful white, a beautiful black.
Though the revolutionary jokes that followed have aged about as well as McDonald's fries 2 hours in the fridge. AEW has greatly complimented this homegrown talent that they've put out, whether it was MJF's Reddit promos, Darby Allin's Daredevil antics, and the evolution of Britt Baker from a babyface to a legit great heel. Hikaru Shida had great matches even when the women's division was at its lowest. Orange Cassidy's lazy chill guy character was not only unique but gained a lot of social media traction as a result. There are so many moments of AEW that I could make a long retrospective of it, which if you're interested, hit that subscribe button. Then came 2021's nuclear hot streak. CM Punk's return had fans crying tears of joy, like literally, while Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole showing up at All Out 2021 felt like Christmas came early. The show, All Out 2021, remains AEW's pinnacle, a perfect storm of storytelling, in-ring action, and genuine surprises that had wrestling fans floating on cloud 9. And that's where, unfortunately, the highs were highs. Let's talk about their lows. 2022 brought growing pains harder than a super kick to the jaw. The roster expanded faster than my wristline at an all-you-can-eat buffet, with ex-WWE talent arriving in waves. While names like Keith Lee and Andrade brought star power, homegrown talent found themselves competing for TV time, something Apollo Crews can relate to. Creative consistency took more hits than a jobber in a squash match, with storylines becoming as scattered as chair shots in the head in a typical hardcore match. For example, Wardlow after his match with MJF at Double or Nothing was white hot, but in just a few months his steam cooled off real quick. They could have maintained their momentum by competing for the world title, or at the very least give him an interesting, compelling storyline to work on. And don't get me started on Brawl Out. The Brawl Out incident after All Out 2022 was literally the only thing folks were talking about All Out. CM Punk and the Elite's altercation sent shockwaves to the company, leading to suspensions and a locker room atmosphere tenser than a submission hold. Now this is the part where I'm turning to a centrist, but I ain't Team Punk or Jackson Bros. This is just two colleagues fighting over some petty stuff, but that's just me. There is also another problem. Around this time, WWE actually got good. Under the creative helm of Triple H, WWE has revitalized storylines and improved quality of the product, leading to greater satisfaction and engagement from a fan base perspective. For instance, the Bloodline storyline going to WrestleMania. I went from hating on the weekly 3-hour format for Monday Night Raw to now actually wanting more. Getting rid of that devil was probably the best thing to ever happen to Titan Towers from a creative and financial perspective. I mean, it's not really probably, it is the best thing to ever happen to that company. But it's not without its mishaps, like 5-match format, can book a black performer on a PLE to save their lives, dynamic pricing that just makes 2-night events for no reason other than more money, etc., etc. Now, how was AEW in the year of our masses 2024? Well, it's kind of tough really. On one hand, you got Swerve Strickland's title reign, which was fantastic by the way, as well as Sting's retirement match at Revolution, which was a great send-off to his career. They honored this man's legacy and his contribution to professional wrestling, something that WWE didn't do in his stint with that company, while Will Ospreay reminded everyone why he is considered wrestling's human highlight reel. And of course, All In Wembley Stadium, which broke attendance records and made history. On the other hand, you got Jon Moxley's title reigns becoming as predictable as a John Cena comeback victory. The Ring of Honor integration felt about as smooth as sandpaper. The so-called creative freedom mantra sometimes resulted in really bad booking. For instance, let's not forget that episode of AEW Dynamite where the Young Bucks leaked the AEW All-In 2023 footage between CM Punk and Chad Perry that did not benefit anybody really. And learning tree. Look, I'm all for preserving the environment, but that's the only tree I want to cut off. Now, I've seen some folks online drawing parallels between AEW's current state and WCW's decline, but that's just a big exaggeration at best, because at least they didn't make the head writer become their world champion. Oh wait, don't listen to this, Tony. Look, AEW still deliver quality matches and maintains financial stability with the new media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, valued around $55 million over the next 3 years, approximately $185 million per year. Now that we're straight into 2025, AEW is like that gifted student that does well in quite a few subjects but needs to concentrate their energy on something. Shows like AEW Grand Slam and feuds such as Hangman Page and MJF has shown some promise sign that AEW is actually cooking sometimes. And a couple of acts on AEW like the Hurt Syndicate for instance showed promising signs of course correction, so striking the fine balance between expansion and identity, coherent storytelling and creative freedom, and star power with homegrown talent development is where the fate of the company rests. By all accounts, AEW was not in a tailspin or a freefall. Instead, it was in the pro wrestling version of a voyage of self-discovery, complete with awkward phases, yet at the same time showing moments of occasional brilliance and impeccable performance. So if they could find their footing and remain keenly focused on what they're doing, they might have at least a good chance that they recapture the captivating magic that had so many people falling so much in love with the promotion in the first place and what they're producing right out of the gate. The question isn't whether AEW will survive, but whether it can evolve from a plucky alternative into the mature, consistent promotion it aspires to be. But I'll guess we'll never know.